Thank you. Funeral. My name is Perry Yao. I'm Alice's nephew. It's never easy to come up to speak in front of friends and family at times like this. But just wanted to acknowledge all the family and friends that have traveled to pay their respects. We do have some speakers to come up to say a few words about their grandmother. So I guess we'll start by we'll call up Sarah, granddaughter. That's Larry and Allison's daughter.
Good morning, everyone. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Sarah. Alice was my mama or my grandmother. I'm 17 years old, and so I only got to see 17 years of my mama's life, but every moment with her that I did have the privilege of experiencing taught me so much. She was one of the most genuine, kind-hearted, and caring people I've ever known, and I learned so much about what it means to be a good person simply by watching her. However, although I was able to learn these things from her by observing, I was never able to actually speak with her. I don't speak Cantonese, and her English was very minimal, so the extent of our verbal conversations were words translated back and forth through my dad. Despite this lack of conversation, I look back on my relationship with my mama and I see the genuine connection that we formed. I always felt close to her, and I always felt safe and cared for by her. I hope she felt the same from me. One of my favorite memories with my mama was when I was very young. My dad had taken the two of us to run some errands, and we found ourselves in what I think was a Walmart. A ballerina Barbie doll had caught my eye, one with feet that could be bent back and forth so it looked like she was dancing. I wanted it so badly, but we were in a rush, and I already had many dolls back home. I was ready to let it go after much insisting from my dad, but my mama insisted on buying it for me. I remember feeling so grateful and being so ecstatic to show my mom when I returned home. It's a fond memory of mine to look back on, as I then remember all the times mama came to watch my performances, whether they were dance or theater. It always felt like something special that I could share with her. It was another way for me to communicate with her without using words. Another memory I have with her was in our old house, the house that my dad and all his siblings grew up in. I used to stay with her multiple days a week back when I was in preschool, and we spent a lot of that time coloring. There were a bunch of coloring books for me to choose from there, and on this particular day that I remember, I chose the one with tropical animals in it. Mama sat down with me and colored a bird. I remember being amazed at how pretty her shading was, and I think she could tell because she then showed me how to color gently instead of wreaking havoc onto the page the way I had been previously doing. I didn't master it right away, of course, but I was just happy to be sitting there with her. I can see the coloring book so clearly on her lap even now, and the hot pink pencil crayon in her hand, as she always grabbed the hot pink pencil first. We still have the red caddy that we were grabbing colors from in a cupboard at home, and I think of her every time I see it. There were many other fun times at our house, like when I would sing along with her "Don't Worry, Be Happy" Fish, or the countless amounts of times she let me sleep in her room after the dark shadows of my yaya's room would scare me. I would fall asleep to the distant sound of her Chinese TV dramas, and I remember feeling completely and utterly safe with her. When the sun rose, we would make our way down the steep stairs, and she would make me rice while I watched TV or counted the air fresheners and soaps on her windowsill. We would eat together, play together, and sing together. I hope she knows how much fun I had with her and how much I appreciated the warm space that she carved out for me in her home and in her heart. As I got older, as I said, she would watch my performances, listen to me sing, and watch me dance. I always felt that extra connection to her because we both had a soft spot for music. She would always ask if I was okay or worry that I looked too tired, especially when the pandemic started. It amazes me how she was able to always hold so much care for others when her own situation could be deemed as worse. She was truly selfless. I don't think there'd ever be enough time in the world for me to say all that I want to say about my mama. She was strong, thoughtful, and she made me feel safer in a world where I didn't always feel like I belonged. I am so grateful for the kindness that she showed me despite our inability to verbally communicate. Looking back, I can confidently say that I have had some of the best conversations with my mama, even though we never actually spoke. She was an amazing woman and grandmother, and I will miss her every day.
Thanks, Sarah. And now we'd ask Kiana out to come up, and she's the daughter of Pac and Lisa.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. I'm going to try and keep mine short and sweet because I'm a crier, which I think I get that from Mama. So when I sat down to begin writing this, it really started with, how do I do this? What should I say? Nothing can be said to summarize how much Mama meant to me or the rest of our family. But I realized that there's no right or wrong way to remember someone. So I sat and thought about all the little things that I will miss, and maybe some of the things that I took for granted in my relationship with her. She'd always been such a present part in my life. I never imagined that I'd be standing here today having to say goodbye. I never imagined a life without her. One thing that became so abundantly clear to me is just how unconditional her love was for each of her grandchildren. You would think that that's something really easily assumed from a grandparent to their grandchild, but again, sometimes unconditional love can be taken for granted. As I grew up, my ability to communicate in Chinese with her slowly decreased, but it never wavered in my mind how much she loved me and how she showed her care for each of us. It's silly to think about it now, but it was the little things like remembering to buy my favorite snacks when we'd go shopping in Chinatown, sneaking me the occasional candy behind my parents' back. Even just trying to communicate the best she could with me by asking me yes or no questions about my day, and always remembering to call me on my birthday. Her love was so unconditional, and she just wanted to see each of her grandchildren succeed so much. She even came to my high school graduation, where she sat in a packed room of strangers, listening to speeches that she couldn't quite understand, and watched 300 other students accept their diplomas just to see me walk across the stage and accept mine. I don't doubt that if I had the opportunity to walk at my university graduation, that she would have been sitting there as well, watching double or triple the amount of people, and just excited to go out to eat afterwards. I'll miss all the little toys and trinkets that you kept in our family home. I'll miss the happy birthday calls. I'll miss hearing, "Hi, honey," over the phone. I'll miss having you as a part of my wedding. And I'll miss sitting down next to you at dim sum and having you wipe all of the porcelain dishes and chopsticks for me. And I'm sorry that I never got to share the meal with you that I owed you as a part of our deal. But despite all that I'll miss in this world, it brings me peace to know that you've lived a long life and are now reunited with Yaya in another. I love you, I'll miss you, and I'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Kiana. Yeah, that one touched. So now I'd like to call up Tristan, Kaylin, and I believe Rowan is going to come up as well. And the three boys are Nelson and Libby's boys.
My mama was as kind-hearted as can be. She would show her kindness every chance she would get, and I'm going to cherish all the memories with her. From all the fortune cookies to the fruity popsicles, or taking me to the playground with Yaya. I'll always remember that time when Mama stayed over to watch us. The whole time we just watched Ben 10, and the entire time she looked joyful. As I grew up, she wasn't as happy to watch the show, but she was just happy to spend time with us, and that's what made her very special. Mama, I love you, and dim sum will not be the same without you.
I love you, Mama. I couldn't have asked for a better grandma, and I want to thank her for everything she's done and all the times she took care of us. A story I want to share today is the time me, Mama, and Yaya went to the airport, and I remember we bused there, and when I was there, I was running around and playing on the playground, and I remember Mama gave me coins so I could go play at the arcade. And when we got back, we were watching TV on the couch, and she was spoiling me with chocolate. She spoiled us at birthdays and at Christmas with Ben 10 toys. Thank you, Mama. I love you.
Dear Mama, I am very thankful to have you as my grandma. You have always had time to take care of me and my brothers. One of my best memories of you was when you came to take care of me. You came to the movies to watch Mission Impossible 6. You looked like you had a great time, even though you didn't understand some of the English words. I am sad that you had to go, but at least that I know that Yaya now has someone to keep him company. Love you always.
Thanks, Tristan, Kaylin, and Rowan. We'd also like to have you. I'm sorry. I had to clear my throat. Sorry. Zach. He is packing Lisa's. Chet. Oh, jeez. I'm sorry. Wedding and funeral, there's always going to be something that goes a little. Okay. So, Chet, sorry about that.
When I remember in school, I got asked who was the kindest person you've ever known. And my instant answer was my mama. She loved me and all the grandkids unconditionally. And despite the language barrier, I knew how much she loved and cared for all of us.
其他小朋友咧，通常帶翻屋企、帶翻學校食嘅甜品啊，或者小嘅食物咧，佢都會盡力去做俾我哋，等我哋咧係翻學嘅時間咧，同其他嘅同學咧一樣。媽媽咧就因為爸爸要全職喺出邊做事，媽媽咧就全職嘅時間喺屋企係照顧屋企同埋照顧我哋。咁直至到1979年呢，我哋從呢個 Kiana 咧搬到嚟溫尼柏市，我哋年紀大咗啦，媽媽咧就可以出邊做嘢，佢就喺一個製衣嘅公司嗰度做。咁除咗去翻工咧，佢仲要喺屋企照顧我哋，同埋咧係打理屋企。佢咧雖然好忙，但係咧佢都每晚咧好準時咧係預備好好嘅晚餐擺喺台上面俾我哋食。媽媽係好愛我哋。佢亦都咧時常咧好關心我哋，係成日提我哋出街唔好出到咁夜啊！未畢業之前咧唔好拍拖啊！最緊要咧做好啲功課啊！佢咧係雖然咧佢係同我爹哋咧係一個新移民嚟到一個新嘅國家，要養我哋4兄弟姊妹，但係咧係一定係好多嘅壓力，但係雖然係咁咧，我都冇聽過我爹哋媽咪咧係有啲咩拗撬嘅。咁而家咧我50幾歲啦，我都記得咧我媽媽咧成日都會打電話提醒我，冬天要着暖啲啊，夜晚咧最緊要閂好啲房門啊。咁咧喺我哋長大嘅時間，屋企咧好多時我哋都聽到我哋媽媽咧講咗句哎呀呢個説話。咁尤其是咧我哋咧倒瀉嘢啊喺地下。咁當我長大咗啦，我開始拍拖啦，我而家嘅太太 Alison 咧都會咧用呢個名詞哎呀嚟到形容。咁佢覺得咧呢一個講法咧係好有意思。我哋中國傳統咧有陣時都有啲嘅迷信，我哋嘅媽媽咧有陣時會提我哋去送禮咧，千祈唔好送鐘啊！我哋咧尤其是最中意我嘅咧就係提我哋食飯咧就要一定咧係每粒飯咧都要喺個飯碗食晒。如果唔係咧，我哋第日長大咗咧，我哋嘅配偶咧就會有豆皮。喺一個更嚴肅啲嘅角度底下咧，我哋從觀察我哋嘅媽媽係日常生活咧，我哋學咗好多好重要嘅功課。佢咧教我哋咧一定要尊敬長輩啦，亦都要使到我哋嘅客人咧覺得舒服啦。我哋去探人咧一定唔能夠兩手空空去啦，同埋最緊要咧就係我哋要愛錫我哋嘅子女。我哋嘅媽媽咧唔中意去炫耀咩，但係咧 我知道咧，佢對於佢每一個子女同埋佢9個嘅孫咧，佢都非常之係感覺到榮耀嘅。雖然後來咧，我哋媽媽咧係患咗呢個爆血管，有啲行動唔方便，但係佢都一樣都冇忘記咧，成日都掛念我哋每一個同埋佢嘅孫。媽媽咧係幫我哋咧照顧我哋嘅子女，咁使到我哋咧唔需要咧將我哋嘅子女咧擺喺托兒所。佢咧係每一個嘅孫咧，佢都好愛錫嘅。我嘅細佬阿柏咧就記得咧，每一次佢帶佢啲仔女去放低俾佢媽媽湊咧，翻去帶翻佢哋走嘅時間咧，我哋媽媽咧都會俾一件好好嘅禮物咧俾我哋俾佢嘅孫，等佢哋拎走嘅。佢亦都記得有一次咧，佢將佢個女咧就放喺媽咪屋企係湊，等佢同佢嘅太太 Lisa 可以出街。當佢哋翻到屋企咧，就發覺咧個女嘅頭髮咧係有啲唔特別。咁再睇清楚咧，就發覺咧我哋嘅媽媽咧就想幫Kiana 咧去剪髮，但係因為咧 Kiana 細個咧好喐動，所以咧剪到一半咧就冇辦法完成。咁我哋咧就從睇到咧我哋嘅媽媽去同佢啲孫一齊嘅時間咧，係另外一面好真誠嘅一面。咁我自己咧亦都咧係好想我嘅父母做一個好嘅爸爸。咁有陣時間咧，我都好唔係好刻意底下咧，就對我嘅仔啊 Zack 同我女 Sarah 咧好嚴格。咁咧想俾我媽媽睇到咧，我都可以做一個好嘅爸爸。但係咧，我媽媽咧就只係咧覺得同我講咧，唔需要咁嚴㗎，只係咧去愛佢哋就得啦。我媽媽咧同我嘅妹妹 Cindy 咧有一個好嘅關係。咁當 Cindy 同佢先生 Steve 要搬到去紐約住嘅時間咧，當時我嘅媽媽咧就覺得好難去接受呢個現實，因為咧媽媽同 Cindy 有一個好好關係。媽媽咧就會帶阿 Cindy 去好多嘅地方，例如咧每個禮拜咧同佢去購物商場啦。後來大啲咧就帶佢去環遊世界。而 Cindy 咧覺得媽媽係好勤力要去做嘢嘅人，亦都好感激媽媽，因為咧佢使到屋企好乾淨，亦都煮好多好好食嘅食物俾佢哋。Cindy 同媽媽咧就透過好多嘅小事咧，開始建立一個好緊密嘅關係。例如咧，媽媽會帶佢喺屋企附近嘅公園玩啦，教佢點整雲吞啦，又幫佢咧係搽手指甲啦。我哋咧中國人嘅細路咧時間咧係最中意嘅時間就係過農曆新年，因為咧有利是豆，亦都有好多好好食嘅食物。咁亦都咧好中意呢個中秋節，因為有月餅食，同埋咧我哋亦都好紀念咧細個時間可以同屋企一齊咧喺睇好多嘅中文電視。我相信咧我哋嘅媽媽咧都係希望咧透過呢啲想我哋學下中文。Cindy 亦都好中意咧係聖誕節，因為咧佢同我哋嘅媽媽咧可以一齊佈置聖誕樹。我哋喺屋企咧喺聖誕節咧亦都有個唔文明嘅習俗，就係一齊咧喺電視機嗰度睇呢個仙樂飄飄處處聞嘅電影。後來咧媽媽都帶阿 Cindy 去好多地方，例如咧去加州啦，去探媽媽妹妹 Juliana 喺三藩市嘅屋企，同埋咧亦都帶Cindy 咧去洛杉磯咧去探媽媽嘅親戚。咁當然咧喺加州咧媽媽都會帶阿 Cindy 咧去迪士尼樂園。咁而Cindy 咧都喺迪士尼樂園咧係好中意呢個米奇老鼠。咁而 Cindy 咧亦都好出奇咧，媽媽咧甚至會同埋佢一齊去玩呢啲機動遊戲。後來咧阿 Cindy 學校讀完書畢業啦，媽媽咧就帶佢去香港6個禮拜，介紹俾佢識咧佢香港嘅親戚朋友，同埋咧去俾佢睇佢未嚟加拿大喺香港住嘅情形係點樣。我哋嘅媽媽咧係一生係好充實，亦都好開心。雖然咧有陣時去湊大我哋4個兄弟姊妹好辛苦，但係咧佢亦都係感覺好滿足咧。佢4個細路 兄弟姊妹咧都係好成功，有一個好好嘅工作，亦都有佢哋自己嘅家庭，同埋咧佢哋嘅細路仔。喺2013年咧，我哋嘅爸爸咧就過咗身，亦都係我哋媽媽咧失去咗佢48年嘅丈夫。咁嗰個時間咧係媽媽係一個好困難嘅時間。我哋亦都幫我哋嘅媽媽咧就搬咗從 Lipton 街嘅屋咧就搬到去 Polo Park 對面嘅大廈嗰度住。咁媽媽咧就喺嗰度重新咧要開始一個獨立嘅生活，但係咧好似以往一樣，媽媽都好積極去面對，好開心去面對，亦都享受咧佢喺Donwood West 呢個新嘅生活，直至到2018年咧係一次嘅爆血管咧，使到佢左邊嘅身咧係癱瘓咗。咁當時我哋嘅屋企咧作出一個好困難嘅決定，就卒之咧送咗媽媽去 West Park 嗰個係護老院嗰度住。我哋咧當媽媽喺個護老院住嘅時間咧，我哋都好時常去探佢。我哋每日咧同佢視像講電話，使佢咧唔會覺得孤單，同埋咧係盡量去支持佢。咁到2020年咧，新冠狀病毒咧嚟到溫尼柏市，亦都咧係使到去護老院探媽媽咧困難。咁媽媽咧亦都好孤單，但係咧 Cindy 咧都每晚喺晚飯嘅時間同佢係視像通電話，媽媽就每晚都會問阿 Cindy 今晚係咪有食越南河粉啊？咁當然阿 Cindy 唔係每晚都係食嗰樣嘢啦。我哋每一位咧都好難忘咧，每晚我哋同媽媽傾偈嘅時間。我咧喺同媽媽傾偈嘅時間咧之後咧，一路咧逐漸覺得媽媽嘅身體咧開始係冇咁強壯啦。後來咧去揾佢都好難，因為咧佢係冇乜氣力去拎起個平板電腦同我視像。雖然媽媽咧係接種咗3針新冠狀病毒嘅藥苗，但係咧聖誕節之前咧，媽媽都感染咗呢個新冠狀病毒。佢開始咧呼吸好困難，甚至咧好疲倦，直至到1月19號咧，佢就喺 Grace 呢個醫院咧就離開咗我哋啦。我哋嘅媽媽係一個好好嘅媽媽，好好嘅家姐，係好好嘅嫲嫲婆婆。我哋每一位都佢嘅屋企人咧都好非常懷念佢。多謝各位。
Thank you, Raymond. Now I'd like to ask Larry and Nelson to come up and do the eulogy in English. I didn't call you up, Pac, did I? No? Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Have to put on my reading glasses. Thank you, Ray, for translating. Appreciate that. Want to thank my siblings for contributing their thoughts to this eulogy, and I want to particularly thank my wife, Allison, for helping me write this. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming today. I'm here as her eldest child to share my mother, Alice, Maltan Al, with all of you. My early memories of my mom are of how hardworking, happy, and loving she was. We lived in Hong Kong until I was 7, on the 8th floor of an apartment building with no elevators. If you picture a woman corralling 3 rambunctious toddlers, all boys, with a newborn strapped to her back while carrying groceries up 7 flights of stairs. Then you have my mom during our early childhood. In order to keep our family of 6 fed and looked after, my mom had to give everything she had because we had no fridge. She couldn't store food for very long and needed to visit the store or the market frequently, carrying everything home on foot with 4 small children in tow. Later, when we lived in Winnipeg during the 1980s, I remember taking the bus from our home on Lipton Street to Eaton's downtown, where the grocery store in the basement was the closest place to buy food. My mom had traveled thousands of miles to repeat the same task, this time easier due to the bus and the fact that her children were old enough to help. I would go meet Mom on a Friday evening after school, her after work, and treat ourselves to dinner in a malt shop before catching the bus home with our weekly groceries. It's not easy to find one-on-one time when you have 3 siblings, and these evenings were special to me. Later, after my father passed away, I would take my mom to Superstore or Costco on Friday nights, and we would stop for Chinese or Vietnamese food afterwards. Again, our time together. It was during these meals that I learned a lot about who my mom was as a person, and those chats remain some of my favorite memories of her. I guess we've always bonded over food. A good meal was important to my mom, and cooking and feeding those she loved was her way of showing affection. If my grade 4 school photo is anything to go by, my mom loved me a lot. Alice, like most moms, was the person who kept her family together. She had to wear many hats, and she looked after everything for us. We didn't have a lot of money as an immigrant family of 6, but we never went hungry or felt neglected. We were taken care of because my mother made sure of it. But it was hard work. My mom was a seamstress, cook, sock darner, washer of laundry, fixer of many boo-boos, and all things in between, including oftentimes a referee. With 4 kids born in 5 years, we were close in age, and my brothers and I could get carried away sometimes, leaving my mother to break up our fights. Mom instilled in us the importance of hard work. She had left behind her familiar life in Hong Kong, her parents, brother, and beloved sister, Juliana, in order to give us a better opportunity, or to give us better opportunities than she had. I'm sure she felt lonely at times. It was difficult to assimilate, hard to learn a completely new language, and isolating, especially in Manitoba winters. Yet I rarely in all of her 81 years heard my mom complain. She believed in getting on with it and making the best of things. She tried her best to integrate. Desserts aren't big in Chinese cuisine, at least not Western desserts, but I remember my mom trying her best to bake us pies, cakes, and Rice Krispie squares like our schoolmates had. Mom looked after us full-time while my dad provided for the family. But when we moved to Winnipeg from Clarny in 1979, we were old enough that my mom was able to work outside the home. She began working in the garment industry. In addition to caring for all of us and running a household, we always had dinner on the table in spite of her working long, often grueling hours. Mom always showed us how much she loved us. She worried about us constantly. Don't stay out too late. Don't date until you finish university. Finish your homework. And my personal favorite, I didn't have all you kids for you to go and hurt yourself doing dangerous things. We grew up in a loving home. Despite the stresses of raising a family in a different country, I never saw my parents fight or really even argue. Even in my 50s, my mom would often call me to make sure I was wearing a warm enough coat and that I locked the doors at night. Is a phrase we often heard as children whenever we made a mess, such as spilling something on the floor, especially, God forbid, something sticky. When we started dating, my wife Allison picked up on this phrase and added it to her vocabulary. There's something quite satisfying about saying it. The Chinese culture is a very superstitious one. Mom told us not to go swimming in August. You can ask us about that later. Not to give clocks as gifts. And my favorite, make sure you eat every grain of rice in your bowl. If not, the person you marry one day will have a terrible complexion. On a more serious note, I learned most of my values from watching my mother in action. She taught me to always greet your elders first, make your guests comfortable, never visit friends empty-handed, learn to take care of things that you value, and love your children unconditionally. Mom was never the type to brag or boast, but I know she was proud of each of her children and her 9 grandchildren. Even after suffering a stroke and dealing with the discomfort and loss of freedom that came with her move into a personal care home, Mom always asked about her grandkids. Mom cared for all of her grandchildren in Winnipeg and helped her family so that we wouldn't have to put our kids in daycare. She doted over her grandchildren and loved to spoil them. My brother Pac recalls rarely leaving Mom's house without a toy or a special treat in hand when she looked after Kiana and Chet. He remembers one visit in particular when Alice looked after my niece when he and his wife Lisa went out. When they returned, they noticed Kiana's hair was lopsided and disheveled. Further inspection and a few pointed questions revealed that Mom had attempted to give Kiana a haircut, but was unable to finish the job because her granddaughter was squirming too much. Mom was always her most genuine, and when she was playing with all of our children. After her example as a parent, it was important to me to be a good dad. I remember subconsciously being too hard on Zach and Sarah when Mom was around sometimes. I wanted her to think I was doing a good job. Mom used to get so annoyed with me and tell me to leave them alone. Just love them. Mom had a special bond with my sister and her only daughter, Cindy. Cindy and her husband Steve moved to New York in 1995, and I remember that it was especially hard for Mom. There's something about that mother-daughter bond, and Cindy and Mom were close. Mom brought Cindy everywhere she went when she was young. Whether it be weekly shopping trips or worldwide travel, as the hardworking person Mom was, Cindy was always grateful that she kept our childhood home clean and put delicious food on the table, all while having a full-time job. Cindy and Mom bonded over little things, from trips to the park in the neighborhood, teaching her how to make wontons, and painting their nails together. As we are Chinese, lots of memories consist of receiving lucky money on Chinese New Year, eating dinners to celebrate lunar holidays, devouring mooncakes during the Mid-Autumn Festival, and watching countless Chinese dramas together. Granted, she was probably giving us a not-so-subtle hint to improve our Chinese. Hence, we needed Ray to translate her. Another fun part of the year for Cindy was Christmas time. She and Mom would decorate the tree together, as Mom loved buying ornaments. It also became an unofficial tradition to watch The Sound of Music together on Christmas Day when it aired on TV. Cindy remembers many trips that the two of them took together. They went to California, mainly to visit Aunt Juliana's family in San Francisco. But they also went to visit Mom's cousins in Los Angeles. While they were there, they went to Disneyland, where Mom helped Cindy discover her love for Mickey Mouse. Imagine Cindy's surprise when Mom even went on the rides with her. Cindy and Mom took a special trip to Hong Kong together after Cindy's graduation, where they spent 6 weeks introducing Cindy to Mom's side of the family and allowing her to see the parts of her life before she moved to Canada. Our Mom lived a full and happy life in spite of some hardships. She raised 4 successful children, and nothing brought her more joy than seeing us find loving marriages and raise children of our own. In 2013, we lost our dad and Mom's husband of 48 years. This was a struggle for Mom, and we moved her out of the home we grew up in to a 55-plus condo across from Polo Park. Mom had to find independence and live on her own for the first time ever. As always, she made the best of things and enjoyed her time at Donwood West, until the stroke left her paralyzed on her left side in 2018. Our family made the difficult decision to have Mom cared for at West Park Manor Personal Care Home after her stroke. We would visit her often and FaceTime her daily, trying to lessen her loneliness and support her as much as we could. Thank goodness for the Chinese TV channels that kept Mom entertained most of the time. When COVID reared its head in 2020, it was difficult and often lonely for Mom. Cindy remembers talking to her at dinner time every night. She would ask what Cindy was eating and if she was eating the same thing every day. Mung, which is Vietnamese noodles. For the record, she was not. We will all miss these nightly phone calls. I knew Mom must have not been feeling well when the FaceTime calls slowed down. It became difficult to reach her because she was too weak to hold her iPad up. In spite of being triple vaccinated, Mom contracted COVID-19 just before Christmas. She began to have difficulty breathing and suffer from extreme fatigue before she passed at the Grace Hospital on January 19th. She was a wonderful mother, sister, and grandmother, and she will be greatly missed.
You know, I'm just going to add a few memories that I have of my mom. You know, the kids did a really good job with their heartfelt speeches, and, you know, I thought about going down that road too, but I would be a total mess up here trying to go through it. So, you know, I just want to thank everybody for coming out during these COVID times and crazy cold conditions. It's very heartwarming to see everybody here today. You know, I'm Nelson. I'm the number 3 son. I'd like to think the favorite son, but that's all self-proclaimed. Ever since Cindy moved to New York, Larry, Pack, and myself, we always had this running game with Mom to try to get her admit which one was her favorite. Even though we all 3 stayed in Manitoba, we knew that Mom's favorite was Cindy. I have a lot of memories with my mother, but here are a few that I would like to share. The first one would be when we were still living in Killarney. I was in grade 4, moving to a new country with different customs, and I never really thought about it at the time, but new smells too. My brothers and I would come home from playing the whole day out at Tommy Shaw's farm, and as soon as we came into the house, Mom didn't like the way we smelled. I guess we no longer smelled Chinese to her. So off to the bathroom for a Dettol bath. For those that don't know what Dettol is, it's a disinfectant, an antiseptic that you pour into your mop water to mop the floors and sanitize the floors with. The bottle had a skull and crossbone on the thing, and this stuff turned the clear bath water into this milky solution. With my eyes burning, Mom would check my head for wood ticks while scrubbing me clean of the farm smell. You know, Dettol to this day is still a comfort smell for Larry. Throughout the years, in talking with co-workers and friends that grew up in the UK or under British rule, Dettol baths was a norm for them as well, so it wasn't just us. The next memory I have is I was in grade 9. My grandparents, my mom's parents, came to visit from Hong Kong, and one afternoon, Mom was talking to her parents in a different language other than Cantonese. It was then that we all found out that Mom was fluent in Vietnamese since she grew up there. I'm pretty sure they were talking about us too, that's why they switched to Vietnamese. Another language that my mom knew long before English was French. She had to take it in school and hated it while growing up in Vietnam, as it was a French colony at the time. But after finding out she grew up in Vietnam, Mom was cooking us Vietnamese food decades before it was even cool to eat Vietnamese food in Winnipeg. I would also like to share the time when one shopping trip went wrong with Mom and I. Mom loved to shop. We were shopping at Kmart out in Unicity, and after checkout, the store manager and an undercover security guy met us at the door on our way out. Mom was behind me as the manager spoke to me about why they were stopping us. She kept asking me, what is he saying? What is he saying? I turned to let her know that they were suspecting her of shoplifting. Her reaction, she kind of pushed me aside, pointed her finger at the manager, and said, "Fuck you!" I was in shock. I'm like, Mom, I moved her back behind me and had some final words with the manager. On the way back to the car, Mom kept asking me, "What did the manager say to me? What did the manager say to me?" I said, let's just get to the car first. So we get to the car, we both get in. I turn to my mother and break her the bad news. "Sorry, Mom, you're banned from this Kmart for life." Mom wasn't very pleased being banned. She said, if I could speak English, I would march back in there and tell that manager a piece of my mind. And I said, "Mom, you already did by telling him to go F off." So for the record, Mom didn't steal anything. After she calmed down on the drive home, she confessed that while shopping, she kept looking up at those mirrored glass that they had along the perimeter of Kmart. And every aisle she went down, she kept looking up. So I guess they suspected she looked too suspicious from the people looking down on her. So our father was like the forever peacekeeper, but our mother had some feistiness to her. I think it was the jungle Asian coming out of her from growing up in Vietnam. Things rarely fazed Mom. She was kind, generous, and forgiving to others. She lived through 2 wars and a Winnipeg mugging. Let me recall that day for you. I got a call from work from her supervisor when she was working at Midwest Garments. Midwest Garments? Midwestern Glove. That Mom was assaulted and robbed while waiting for the bus on her way to work that early morning. I went to get her, and on the drive home, Mom wasn't even mad at the person that accosted her. She was angrier that she lost her best purse and the new thermos with her lunch in it. That's how forgiving Mom was. She was always so even-keeled. And I just want to finish off by, there's a simple Cantonese phrase that pays the highest compliment to someone, and it's "Chân ai hou yan," which translates to truly a great person. And that's what Mom was. And we will miss her. Love you, Mom.
That was so nice to hear. Different side of Auntie Alice. So now the family had prepared a video tribute, and
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me.
Now, I would like to ask Caitlin to come officiate the rest of the service. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you on behalf of the family for attending. We have Pac coming up.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Pac. I'm the number 2 son. Obviously, as you heard today, my mom loved eating, so there was a common theme here. So today at 2 p.m., we would like to invite everyone here for my mom's final meal at Dim Sum Garden. That's the place upstairs across from Kam Kun. I think it's at the corner of King and Logan. It's the upstairs place at 2 p.m. Okay. I know my aunt Juliana from San Francisco really wanted to be here, but unfortunately she couldn't make it due to her health as well. But she really, really loved my mom so much. I guess there was a big age difference between them, and I guess my mom really took care of her. Some of the slides there, you can see that little girl that was sitting beside her actually wasn't her daughter, it was actually her sister. So today at 2 p.m., you guys are all welcome to join us for a dim sum meal in honor of my mom. So we'll see you there, okay?
Thank you again for everyone that's joined us to remember Alice. At this time, we're going to invite you to come forward to pay your final respects if you wish to do so. And as you exit the chapel, just down the side aisle, feel free to offer your condolences to the family as well. Thank you.